Yo guys, Theo here on Common Sense. Today we're going to be talking about demons. We all have our demons and some of us carry them directly on our backs. Well, let's see if I even do some editing here and put the demon back picture up. So yeah, I have a demon on my back, but yeah. Anyway, we all have our demons, meaning traits or aspects of ourselves that we view as flaws. And look, it's one thing it's great to be able to be self-aware, self-critical, being able to look at yourself objectively and be like, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Like that, and want to improve. That's great, but it becomes very, very toxic when we view some aspect of ourselves as something being fundamentally wrong with ourselves, in the sense that you feel like, if I just wasn't like this, I would never have this problem, or I would have this thing that I want, that kind of thing. So in this video I'm going to be talking about my demon, how it didn't work out well at all for me when I tried to fight it, and when I learned to start loving the demon just as another part of myself and learned to dance with it, how that allowed for me to become the best version of myself ever. So what is the demon? Well, I explained a little bit, but it's really trauma, right? And what is trauma? Well, it's information stored in your nervous system that at one point served you as a coping or survival mechanism, but doesn't anymore. So for instance, we can't really say that if someone gets a fear response in an actually life-threatening situation, you know, oh, there's a big fire in their house and they get afraid, that's just the way it's supposed to function, right? But it's when you, for instance, get a huge fear response in a situation that isn't actually life-threatening, it's not serving you anymore, right? And then when we can refer to it as trauma or the demon. So my demon that I had was the anxious side of me, that I could experience severe anxiety, both like just general anxiety, but I could get very, 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 very nervous about certain situations. And it was mostly for me performance situations on stage, where you know, like holding a presentation, singing, doing some kind of performance for a group, in front of a group, you know. And of course, this is something that a lot of people think is a little scary like that, but for me, it was the scariest thing I know in the world. I also happen to have this medical condition, heritable condition. We'll see, I know I show it sometimes here in the camera. It doesn't really come across on the camera because the camera is also a little shaky, doing some auto stabilization there. But I have a constant tremor, so my baseline for trembling, you know, a lot of people, when they get nervous, they will start to tremble as much as I do all the time. So it wasn't, you say in Swedish, evil circle, in the sense that I have this, and then I get super nervous in these situations, so I get really shaky. You know sometimes how people are like, when you tell them afterwards, I was so nervous, they'd be like, oh, I couldn't tell. Well, with me, you could always tell, you know, and I absolutely hated this, and I really view this as something being fundamentally wrong with me, because as a kid, I was great at this. You know, when my school celebrated 100 years, being 100 years, and a famous Swedish author, children's author, died the day before, Astrid Lindgren, I was asked, like on a whim, to read out loud from one of her books in front of the whole school and the fucking crown princess. I was also escorting the crown princess to her place when she was there, by the way. Some politicians, you know. And I remember when I was asked about this, I was just like, yeah, I'm much better than most people in my class at reading, so of course I'll do that. And I just read it, and it was no problem, you know. But at one point, so this is something I loved. I knew I loved doing things like this, performing and doing something for an audience, you know. Not necessarily only to be the center of attention. Like, of course, we all have some ego, so of course I would like that, but giving to the group, you know. And when I had this demon inside me that seemed to be blocking me from this, the things that I wanted to do the most, for some reason seemed so terrifying, and I had this extremely strong reaction in those moments. It felt like a demon. I had this fucking inherently wrong thing with me that blocks me from doing the things I'm supposed to be able to do. And this was no good, you know. I always try to fight it. In front of these situations, I'm sitting and being, get over it. You can't feel like this, get over it, you know. And of course, I just always sat and, you know, what's the word, but trigger myself out, just making it worse, or going through this fucking fighting the demon in my head. And so one day, it was, you know, because in this video we don't go into the like reasons why I turned out, like why I got my trauma. It's not really the point. You just need to know that I did. And so at one point, I started having these chronic panic attacks. That were, of course, it were due to the same kind of trauma, but also a bunch of different shit. I'm now older. I've now had years of not living a very healthy, nihilistic lifestyle of partying, drinking too much, hooking up with girls when I can, eating junk food, not taking care of my sleep, etc. So, of course, this doesn't exactly help my nervous system, right? So one day, I started having these panic attacks that all of a sudden makes everyday mundane social situations feel like one of those performance situations, you know, because well, I'm not nervous about that kind of situations to begin with, but when I start feeling that way once, now of course I'm afraid that people will see that Theo, that usually when not triggered, when the demon is not out, is just a chill, cool guy that laughs, cracks a joke, mellow, relaxed, all of a sudden can, you know, freak out from just these very mundane everyday situations. And the thing was that finally, the first panic attack I had, that's when I just got that there's nothing wrong with me in that sense, you know, like I can't be angry and hate on myself for this anymore, like, because what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to be angry at myself for feeling like dying, feeling so uncomfortable that I kind of want to end my life? No. All of a sudden, the voice inside my head around this started to be a lot nicer. Like, shit, you're having to deal with, instead of why are you like this? Can't you be different? Why can't you get over this? It's like, shit, this you have to deal with right now, man. It's really fucking tough. It's really fucking tough. And for once, I didn't choose to run away from this, even though the terror was now intensified. If I thought it was bad with a stage fright before, the panic attacks were just like 1,000 times worse. So even though still, I now knew, you know, I can't run from this anymore. Fighting it like that is not going to help anymore. I'm going to have to confront these situations and just know that the feelings here at play, the fear I feel, it's not really real. I have to get over it. I understood. I have to reteach my nervous system that it's not a threat. These situations are fine. And yeah, I started approaching my demon instead of going against it all armed and trying to fight it, which is an impossible battle. You know, demons, they just feed off your anger and hate. They just get stronger from your fear, anger and hate. So I started trying to approach it with my guard down, just to talk to the little guy, see what finds out. But he's scary looking, you know. It's when he's going, it's fucking terrifying. So many times when I went in to confront these situations that I knew would give me panic, I bailed, you know, when I was going to work. Sometimes I had to turn around earlier. Sometimes I got to work but had to leave earlier than I should. And many similar things happened in other situations, you know. But little by little, I got closer and closer to my demon, and it turned out that he's not even a nasty guy. He's just very, very afraid, and he makes big noise, makes all that big noise when he's afraid. So I embraced him instead and be like, I get it, little buddy, but we're here. We're gonna get through this together. And I hug him. And so at a point, a big turning point for me with all of this was when I had a concert with my choir in Moscow, and I have full-blown panic going into the concert. I want to bail from the concert. Yeah, it's being on stage so much. But I get through it. I managed to, you know, I've considered just bailing for so long. But then I managed to go out there. And of course, I'll make a fool of myself if I run out during the concert or anything, right? It's too scary to do that once you're out. So I get through the concert. It's not the best singing performance I ever did, you know, but it turned out fine. And this was a huge turning point for me. And from this point, yeah, it didn't really happen all that much anymore. But what I want to come to is this is what put me on the track to when I had overcome the panic attacks like this. I now had great self-esteem because I knew what battles I had thought. It doesn't matter, no one else could know what was the battle I was fighting inside me like that. Yeah, it just happened because of that, and this is what put me on the path of working towards, this that you see right now, which of course is not only, always the bicep by the way, but it's not only a physical transformation, the physical is just a representation of the change that's really happened inside me. But what it taught me a lot, my demon, is it's in the most, discomfort like that, when we experience most growth. And so just going through some workouts, just experiencing some discomfort of having to say no to certain foods and not drink as much and all that, that's like a piece of cake compared to the fights I had to put up before. And so can you see that the trait I once viewed as the biggest flaw about me was what allowed for me to reach the highest levels I have like this. That's the whole point. There's like a positive upside to every downside. Super difficult shit you've been through, it was difficult, and it will be difficult. There will come some things with that, but you can always make it into something positive. Never so you have to look back and be like, I'm so happy that happened. I've said that about my panic attacks, but if we talk about the things I experienced as a child that turned me that way, that gave birth to the demon, it would have been better if we look back and could change things, but we can't, Yeah, the point is that, theoretically, even better if you never had to deal with that, but now when you had to, you have the chance to gain sort of superpowers because of this. That's a demon power-up, It's often that it's two things, like something wild and crazy out of control, but also great power. But it's so much more that I've gained from this too. My ability to understand other people's trauma. I learned this so much going through this process. Now every person that deals with panic attacks or anxiety like that, even though, because it can be different underlying reasons, I can't know exactly what their experience is like, but kind of, I understand the nervous system and triggers and like that. So I have a much deeper understanding for these things than a lot of people would have. And I could just go on. The point I want to make here really is, it might be something completely else for you than the stage fright that I experienced. It might be how fucking awkward you are with girls, that you're terrified of girls, or whatever thing. Think anything that came to mind when you listen to this, that you at the moment right now feel like, this is what's keeping me back, this is what's ruined me, this is what fucks up my life. If only this one thing was different, I would be thriving, I would be doing great. Well, I'm here to tell you that I felt like this about a part of myself at one point, and today I just see that I would never have gotten all the amazing things I have in my life without it. I love my demon. That anxious side is still there of me, by the way. It can still, some things can make me feel very, 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 very anxious. But that's the other point too, because I've had to experience this intense, extremely intense fight or flight mode, It has also made me extremely resistant to the stress. When something isn't a panic attack, I'm pretty much good, even if my heart is beating and shit. So, yeah, guys, I love my demon, and we'll end the video here. So please let me know, guys. Was this interesting? Do you have any demon you're currently fighting? Please let me know. It's all very, very interesting. And I respond to most comments if I don't miss it. The YouTube notification system is weird like that sometimes. But please like and comment. All comments and likes help support the channel, helps more people find it. So it's very much appreciated. Please subscribe for more content about fitness, fasting, losing weight, building muscle, self-improvement, mental health, philosophy, stoicism, overcoming trauma, healing. Bunch of cool shit, as you may know. I hope you already pressed subscribe. Okay, guys, I'll see you later. Peace.